Good morning, everybody. It's your boy D Max. So let's talk. All right. So y'all see the title. I'm talking about unsung heroes. There are a lot of people out here who go out and they find somebody that they like, and they start to talk, and they start to get a little bit closer, and then they find out that the person that they're talking to has children. Well, whenever you come into a situation like that, there's a decision to be made. Am I going to accept this person and his or her children? And then two, am I going to be active in their lives, and how am I going to balance that out? Specifically for the men, I can only talk on the men's behalf because I don't know, what thoughts and what feelings women have whenever they come into a situation when they're dealing with a man who has children and stuff. And so, I just speak from a man's perspective. And from a man's perspective, I know what I've dealt with when it comes down to dealing with children and stuff like that. So, you know, um, yeah, there's a lot to be said. I was trying to get the my whatchamacallit in the chat so people can come on and have this conversation with me this morning. Good morning, Hurricane Kilo. How you doing? But yeah, this is something that rarely gets talked about, and I feel like step parents are unsung heroes. They get the short end of the stick a lot of times, and they don't get the credit that they deserve for stepping into a role that's not theirs, and they really don't have any obligation to do so, but because they love the person that they're talking to, they make that decision. And that's a very big decision in somebody's life. It's a very life changing decision, and it does not get the recognition and acknowledgement that it should. So I'm gonna just go into this from my standpoint, from my point of view, and from my experience as a stepdad. Now, I'll start this off by saying that, I saw an example of a stepdad from my father, because when my father came into the relationship with my mom already had four kids. And then they made me, I was the last of the Mohicans. But I saw the struggles that my father dealt with as a stepfather, lack of respect from the kids because they still feel allegiance to their other parent, their father or the mother that's not in the picture. You have walking on eggshells in a situation because think about it, you're coming into somebody else's family dynamic. You've taken yourself away from your past family dynamic, and then you bring yourself into this family dynamic, or you're balancing two different family dynamics. Because whenever, as a man, when you get out of, say, a marriage or a relationship where there's children involved, you leave that person, you don't leave the children. And so you still have that relationship to maintain in your first relationship, and now you're over here and you're starting to talk to this woman, and you are making a decision to take on whatever she's got going on. You know what I'm saying? And so when you get into that type of groove, that's a whole lot on a guy, not to mention the other things that we're dealing with in life. And these things are not taken into consideration whenever we come into these types of relationships. Nobody ever takes into consideration how much negativity, how much pushback, and how much building of trust we have to face coming into this new family dynamic. And there may be a structure already set in that household. So down, your values and your morals are going to have to take a back seat to what's already been established in this household. So how then can you be an effective head of the family whenever you can't even implement your morals and your values into a situation? These are the things that I saw my father deal with, and later on in life, as I decided to make that decision to deal with somebody who had children before me, now I'm starting to experience those things. But thankfully, I had a a good example to look at, a good example to glean information from by what I saw my dad go through with my siblings. Growing up, and I'll say this with a grain of salt. I saw my brothers and my sisters disrespect my father in a way that was so, to me, in my eyes, it was ungrateful, because here you have a man who comes into a situation and he's willing to be that male figure in your life because your father isn't there for whatever reasons. I'm not knocking why the dads are not there or nothing. I don't care about none of that. But it comes down to the lack of respect when they don't take into consideration that you're coming in and you're willing to fill the gap financially, emotionally, mentally, all of that. And you're being all of that for this person, but they giving you their ass to kiss because you're not the one who shot the sperm into their mama. Yeah, man, it kind of hits a nerve whenever you think about it. And I'm in a group called Black Fathers, and I often see this topic coming up, and that's why I decided to come on and speak about it, because it's something that needs to be addressed mainly by the main person, the main parent, which is usually the mother, the primary parent who has all of the children. So if you are a woman and you're dealing with a man and you know you have children at home and he's going to be stepping into a family environment or a family structure that's already been established, make sure you make room for him to be able to implement some of his family values. These are things that y'all need to talk about ahead of time before that person even meet your children, so that you can establish how y'all are going to go into this relationship and possible marriage, and both people are represented equally. Because if that man come into a household and you got everything already set up and made your way, and he's supposed to just fall into your plan, it's not going to work. I'm telling you now from experience, it's not going to work if you're not willing to compromise on how the house is rated. All right. That's just cold facts about it. And people will give pushback on that, but that's the reason why most marriages and most relationships today are failing, is because it's people who are coming into an already made family and they're trying to come in and they see potholes because they're on the outside looking in, basically, and they can see the wrong things. They can see the inconsistencies and the inadequacies, and when they try to address them, they get hit with, "You ain't my daddy," or "You're not their father." There's a lot of women who do that to their men. They will bring them into a relationship where they have these children and want them to support the children in every way, but let them say something to them or try to correct them, and then you try to act like that they don't have the position or the authority to do so. You are absolutely in the wrong by doing that. You're taking that man's hands and tying them behind his back, and you are taking away half of his duties as a man in the household. And that's something that needs to be addressed. If we don't address it as men coming into the relationship, then your relationship is not going to last long. You're going to have a bad relationship experience. Those children are going to have a bad relationship experience, and it's not going to be healthy for anybody in that whole entire scenario. So, and it's not just fathers. There are women who make the decision to go into relationships with men who have their children, and they take on those roles as secondary mom or baby first mom. That's if the mother's passed away. But it's always going to be a fight because the children are saying, "I have a daddy, I have a mama." You're trying to fill their place. You're trying to make me forget about them or stop loving them or choose between the both of you. That is absolutely not the truth at all. We are not trying to make nobody choose nobody. But what we are trying to get you to recognize is that you have another support system now, and you don't have to feel like you're being disloyal to one because you love the other. There's so much competition that goes on, and there's so much balance that has to be maintained by that man, because you have your children from the first relationship that you left, and they're feeling abandoned and neglected. And now that they see that you're starting up with a new family with other kids, they're seeing in their mind and in their hearts, you're replacing them. They're not good enough, and they start to have all that. I know I've been through these conversations with my kids. My youngest daughter, I've had this conversation with her many times, and I've had to reassure her many times that I love her just as much as any of my other kids. There's nothing that I wouldn't do for her that I wouldn't do for the others. And just because we're not in the same household together doesn't mean that I have any partiality to anybody. I love all of my kids according to their needs. That's how I kill that whole competition thing that they love to do. They love to say, well, you do more for them than you do for me, and you let her get away with this, and you don't." Look, I love each and every one of my kids according to their needs. I have some of my daughters are very strong. They don't need any positive affirmations or anything or any validation. They can go out here and they got it. I have some of my sons who need positive affirmations and encouragement to move forward. I have some daughters that can fight like Muhammad Ali. I have some that can fight like Tyson. I have some sons who don't really like to fight. I have to deal with each individual child according to their specific needs, whether it's a stepchild or my biological child. They are all my children, and I'm going to treat them accordingly. So these are the balancing acts that we have to deal with. You said the parents need to make the distinction. Um, Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Both parents, because everything is a united front, especially when you're coming in and you're a step parent. Being a united front is paramount in that whole entire situation. Because, like I was stating earlier, if you come into a situation and you don't have your woman's support and backing on what you're trying to do, then those kids are going to buck against the system because they see mom's not in alignment with what you're doing. You're not my dad, so why should I listen to you? That has to be established in the very beginning, and vice versa. If it's a woman coming into the situation, the father has to establish with those children that she is an extension of me. We're both in this together. We're a united front. And if she says something to you, then that is the same as me saying it to you. And if you disrespect her, you disrespect me. Same thing with you, sisters. You got to have that same speech with your kids and give them that understanding when you coming in. Because some of your kids might be cool and they might not say nothing. Hey, salute to you, Kevin. I appreciate you for coming in this morning, man. You have to break it down to your kids like that, though, because, you know, I love my kids to death. And when I say kids, I mean all of them. I take that word step out. I only use that to differentiate between the different two bodies of families that I have to balance. And it's really three because, you know, let's just say that there's three households that I'm feeding into, physically, mentally, emotionally, and all of that, which I have no problem doing, but you know, nobody recognizes that and understands that. And so I have to every now and then remind them that, look, I got a lot on my plate. I'm being pulled in three different directions at one time where people are needing my love, they're needing my feedback, they're needing my guidance, and I'm getting pulled in all of these different directions, and I got to show up and I got to show out every single time. I can't skip and miss, because the first time that I missed something over here but I don't miss it in the other two places, then I'm showing favoritism, and I don't care about the. There's always this thing of competition, and so I'm always having this balancing act when it comes down to letting my children know that they're all loved equally, just according to their individual needs. And those are the struggles that you have to deal with as a step parent. Another thing as a step parent that really goes unspoken is the fact that, you know, how do I put this? How do I put this? There's always a sense of that other parent, the parent that's not there, whether it's a father or a mother. Now, I'm coming into a situation, if the father is not active in the life of those children, and I come into it and I start to do those things that father is not doing, instead of being like a man and saying, "Hey, dog, I appreciate you for filling in the gap for me not being able to do waza. You know what I'm saying? Woo, 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 whatever." Instead of having the integrity and the balls to be a man and say that, you want to hate on that dude. That nigga trying to be me. That nigga trying to be their daddy. That nigga try. First and foremost, I'm not the nigga in this scenario. I'm not the ignorant one in this scenario. So for you to sit there and keep on nigga this, nigga that, like I'm doing something wrong, like I'm out of line. No, you the one out of line because you are not doing what you're supposed to do. And if you was there to do what you're supposed to do, then man wouldn't have to step in and fill your role. I can't fill the role if it's already filled. You know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of brothers out here who deal with these ungrateful ass stepdaddies, or I mean biological daddies or sperm donors, because they're not in the kid's life. And then we have to sit back and play it cool or sit back. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And based on how the mom still feels about that dude, she'll let some of that shit ride. She absolutely will. She won't say nothing. But I peep stuff real quick. I come into a situation, oh, you still got feelings for that dude. The only reason you have this animosity towards that dude is because it didn't work out. And so anytime you be around him, your energy is different and you're trying to bolster me up and just kind of trying to put me out there to. And I'm not talking about this is not something that's happening in my life. I just want to make that say because people think I'm out here airing my business and stuff. But no, these are just scenarios that come up with stepdads. I'm a stepdad, and like I said, I saw my dad go through a lot of this with my siblings and stuff. And so these are the things that just take place. But nah, my marriage is good. We strong right now. We did have, never mind. But yeah, so you have these missing parents who, whenever they get wind of that other person getting in a relationship and this person is solid, oh, now here they come all of a sudden. All of a sudden, now they want to see their kids. Now all of a sudden, they want to be daddy. Now all of a sudden, they miss this and they miss that because they seen me at the game where they were supposed to be. Or they seen me at the gym with them where they were supposed to be. All of those things like that. So instead of being a real man and appreciating the fact that somebody was able to step in the gap when you wasn't able to do it, lets me know what type of fuckboy you are. And there's a lot of them out there who will do this. They will try to make that woman feel guilty. They will try to make their children feel guilty. And they will try to push all of that onto you like you the bad guy because you stepped in and fulfilled the role and made them look bad. You didn't make them look bad. They made themselves look bad. You just exposed the fact that they are bad because you filled in that gap. You know, that's a hard thing to deal with. And when you're a step parent and you're coming into situations like these with all of this baggage and you still decide to take that on anyway, you just got to know that that's not going to come with any hoorahs. You're not going to get no pat on the back for it. You're not going to get any extra love or any extra acknowledgement for it. It just is what it is. That's what a step parent has to go through and has to understand in order to be in a relationship. You know, there's no walking around on eggshells. You establish yourself in that household. And if that other person is not trying to allow you to establish yourself in that household and what your role is, then you need to think twice about committing in that relationship with them. Because really, they don't want somebody to help them parent. All they want is somebody to financially support them. That's what they're looking for, financial support, emotional support, or whatever. But they're not looking for you to be that parent, that other parent. They feel like they got that. All they want is you to support them, co-sign what they're saying, and be there for them to vent to about their kids. But they don't want you to jump in and say nothing. And so we have to check that. Before we even get in any type of commitment with them, we got to check all of these different things, because that is what leads up to most divorces. That is absolutely what leads up to most divorces. A man comes into this new relationship thinking that the family dynamic is one thing, and then he gets there and he finds out that, yo, I can't deal with this. I wasn't raised like that. Where do they do this at? This is not, no, I don't agree with that. And I'm not going to stand by and watch you just do this. You know, you have that mindset, you have that mentality. And so when you exercise that, you have to understand that people are going to push back. They've been used to doing it on their own for so long. This is for my brothers. We have a lot of women out here who have been doing it on their own from day one. You know, and this is me playing devil's advocate on what I just said. There's a lot of women out here who have been doing it on their own for the longest. And, you know, they don't know how to receive the help that you're trying to give them. They don't, because they've been used to saying, I got it, I got it, I got it. And now that somebody's there that they can actually give some of that give some of that burden to, let somebody else help them carry that weight. You know, it's a hard transition for them as well. So you have to give them time and grace and space to grow as well. You can't just expect to come in the household and just put everything in place. First it's the building of the rapport. Everything comes in stages. You court that girl, but you also court her kids. You do know that, right? You're not just dating that girl. You're not just in a relationship with that girl. You're dating the kid. And I know it sounds kind of messed up, but just keep it in the right context. You're dating the kids. You're getting to know the kids. Once she introduced you to her kids, she feels comfortable enough to do that. Now you're dating the kids. You're building a rapport with them. You're showing them that you're stable, you're a solid person, you're somebody that's going to benefit them and enhance their life. But when you have a lot of people who come in and their main focus is on that woman and how fine she is, and the kids are just a byproduct of her last relationship, that's the attitude that they come in with, then they are going to have a bad relationship with your children. And it's going to show and manifest that their interest isn't in being a parent with you. Their interest is just you. And that's something else that people will deal with. Somebody who comes into a relationship with you, they don't want to deal with your children. They just want to deal with you. And so they'll push everything off on you. Go talk to your mama. Your mama said this. Your mama said that. All right, now, I don't want to hear your mama mouth. I saw somebody did a TikTok like that the other day, and it was funny, but it was also very true, because this is the main stepdad line. You better ask your mama. Your mama this, your mama that. They never speak from a place of authority in that household to say, no, I said this, and that. They never establish their authority. And that's another issue. That's a problem right there. And so, what you say, you feel when it comes to a relationship, a lot of people don't take their time or take it slow. They just jump into the relationship. Absolutely. We was having, thank you for that comment. We was talking about this the other day, how people want, they will start giving people husband and wife privileges immediately when they start dating. They first start dating. There's no cap on what you do for a girlfriend versus a wife. And that's why people don't really care about getting married nowadays. Why would you get married if you got somebody who's giving you all of the benefits that a wife gets from a husband without the contract or without that ring? And so that's why people don't really see no interest in marriage no more. So you're absolutely right. We do not do the relationship process the way that it is supposed to be properly done. And we just jump in head first and then get mad when it ain't enough water. We hit our head on the bottom of the pool. Good morning, Cynthia. Always a blessing to see you, Queen. So yeah, we have to go into these situations knowing that we're not just dating that woman, we're not just getting to know her, we're getting to know everybody that is important in her life, everybody that she deals with on a regular basis, her friends, parents, that cousin is more like a sister or a brother than a cousin. Yeah, all of these people you're going to have to deal with when you come into that family dynamic. And so you have to slow down and take your time, just like Kevin said, because this is a major decision in your life. This is nothing that's small. This is nothing that should be taken lightly at all. But yet it is treated so lightly. It is, and people are treated with so much disrespect that they get soured on the idea of being a step parent. And now you have a whole lot of people saying, I want somebody who don't have children, because they recognize all of these different things that they're going to have to deal with when it comes down to being in that relationship as a step parent. And so they just don't want to deal with it at all. And so most people are out here looking for somebody who does not have children. And I'm telling you, once you get over 30, trying to find somebody over 30 without children is like trying to find a unicorn with a sparkling horn on their head. That's about the level of that. It's a needle in a haystack type of deal. And so your dating pool gets very, very shallow whenever you start putting out stipulations like that and stuff. And so I just wanted to come on this morning and just give a shout out to all of the step parents, step moms, and stepdads alike who go into these situations, oftentimes blind or either partially blind, because nobody's ever going to give you their whole situation up front. And you have to establish yourself in those families, and you have to pretty much debo your way into leadership in that family if you're not getting that support from your mate. And so, yeah, I just want all of anybody who's in a step parent role. I see you. I acknowledge you. I recognize everything that you go through and everything. You said, but they have to be grown. Who has to be grown? The parents or the parents definitely have to be grown up about it. That's another thing. I'm glad you said that, Cynthia. Thank you. Um, yeah, we have to be grown about a lot of things, and being grown is not an age thing. You can be 50 and 60 and still immature and childish. Um, you're going to have to be able to face these issues that I spoke of earlier. You're going to have to address these things. That's what grown-ups do. We have the hard conversations. Grown-ups don't shy away from it. We don't like it, and it's not our favorite thing to do, but we know that it has to be done in order for us to move forward, because we're not going to just leave stuff lingering. Grown-ups don't do that. And so you're absolutely right, Cynthia. We do have to be grown. We got to put our own personal feelings aside, because that's what it be a lot of times. Like I stated earlier, you might still be feeling some kind of way about your baby mama, or old girl might be feeling some type of way about her baby daddy still. There's still some love there, even though they don't want to admit it, but it manifests in their actions whenever they have to deal with that person. And we can see we're not blind. Y'all do not do well of covering up your emotional attachments to people. So quit trying to fake it. Just be real about it. You know, I would respect that and I would know how to handle that. But whenever you don't give me the option by keeping stuff from me, then, you know, you're handicapping our relationship, period. So yeah, being grown about it is absolutely a must. That's a must. I was watching this show. Actually, it was Steve Harvey's talk show, and this girl came on, and she was talking about she was trying to find her real father, and you know she had an idea of who the person was, but she didn't know how to approach the person. And Steve was like, "Your mama gonna have to help in this." And the girl was like, "But my mom's not. She's not. She's." And Steve was very adamant about, "Yo, your mom is gonna have. This is what she created, and she's not being a grown up by avoiding this and leaving it on you as the child to go out and have to find your father, and to risk getting your feelings and your heart hurt by going up to this man that she's never spoke to or met in a day of his life." And saying, "Hey, can you be my dad?" Instead of her stepping up, being a woman, and going to that man that she decided to lay down with and have unprotected sex, and facing whatever she's avoiding. You got to be grown up. There's a lot of people doing that. Us on the men's side, because I got to play both sides of this. A lot of us men will not be in our children's life out of guilt, and we will let people guilt us out of being a part of our children's lives. Or it was a situation to where it was a messed up situation, and if you claim that you're the dad and you accept their responsibility, then everybody gonna find out about that dirty ass thing that you did. And so that'll keep you out of your child's life. Guilt. We got to get past that. Grow the hell up, people. It ain't about you anyway. That's the most selfish thing you can do, is to deprive your children of your being in their life because you're guilty and you don't want to deal with something. That's a coward. That's a coward, and I have no respect for you, male or female, if you operating on that level. I've had to I've had to swallow my pride on a couple of occasions for my children's sake. I've had to sit there and listen to all of their disgruntled feelings, which are very valid, because it may not be that serious to me and they may not know the full extent of situations, but their feelings are valid and their feelings are real. And you have to sit there and take that. You got to take it. You were the grown up in the situation. You're the one who caused the scenario. And now you can't sit back and have somebody to tell you how they feel about your actions. But yeah, you'll get out here and talk about how you a boss and how you this and how you that. Nah, you ain't none of that. You ain't none of that until you're able to sit down in front of your child that you bore into this world and hear them say how they're disappointed in you. You are not a man until you're able to wear that. And then be like, "Okay, baby, I understand your feelings now. This is my perspective and this is how I feel," and build from there. So many people have not been in their children's lives because they do not want to have that conversation, male and female alike. And so when you have people that you're dealing with like this, and now you're a person who's coming in and you're trying to have a relationship with this woman, and they've got all of this animosity and all of this tension going on in the family for what I was just talking about. And you come in and you try to establish yourself as a male figure in that child's life, you're going to get nothing but hatred and pushback from day one. And she's not going to help you any because she's avoiding the conversation and the whole thing herself. It's what we choose, man. It's what we choose to put ourselves into, and paying attention in the beginning so that we can make an informed decision about if this is something that we really want to involve ourselves in. You said, I will always love my baby daddies, just couldn't deal with their mess. Oh, wow. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your loss, sis. And that's perfectly fine, though, sis. I love my kid's mom. I never will not love her. And all my kids' moms. I have, dang, that's bad. I got to say it. Now, I have 3 baby mamas. And I have love for each and every one of them. There's not one that I can't call and have a pleasant conversation with, and we can talk and laugh and deal with whatever issue concerning our children we have to deal with. But it was just at the time that we were together and in the relationship, we both were not in a place to where we were good for each other. And so we had to understand that that had to die. But the most important thing was our children. Now, one thing I will say is this: I salute my kids' moms because they made sure that all my children have a relationship with each other. And that is the most important thing to me, is that all my kids know each other, and not only know each other, but have a relationship with each other. And they do. And I'm so thankful to them. Salute to all of y'all for making sure that that took place. Um, so there's so much that comes with this. There's so much with being a step parent. And until that person gets into a situation or dates someone with children and they see, then they won't be able to appreciate it. And so I just sit back and I chill, and I let things fall where they may. But I'm always there for any of my kids whenever they need it. But I'm not going to try to force them to love me and respect me. That's not love, and that's not respect. Love and respect will never be forced. God don't even force us to love or respect him. He give us free will. He gives us a choice. And so, that's just one of those things that you're gonna have to deal with. You said your kids have other siblings. Yeah, see, it's hard dealing with that dynamic because there's always some type of unspoken competition between those siblings. And I spent numerous hours trying to get my children to understand that there is no competition. No matter what you do, I'm not going to love you more than the others. There's never going to be a scenario in my life where I love one of my kids more than the others. Like I stated earlier, I love all my kids the same, just according to their needs, because they don't all have the same personality. They don't all act the same. And so you said some people, they just don't want to take care of ability for what they do, and they want to bring the woman for everything. And it just said it take 2 people to make a baby. Yeah, definitely take 2 people to make a baby. And people will blame others because that's their way of getting out of stuff. When you put something off on somebody else, you're making yourself clean. You're just like what was the Pontius Pilate, the one who said he's washing his hands of the whole death of Jesus because he didn't want to be involved in that. He didn't see nothing wrong in that man, so he washed his hands of the whole situation so that no blame will be on him and no blood will be on his hands. That's exactly what a lot of people out here, hey, I don't even want no blood. I wash my hands of this situation. I wash my hands of this situation. And so they'll put the blame off on everybody else, but we both do it, male and female alike. I always make sure that I add in both genders because no one gender has a monopoly on being trifling. Both genders have our share of triflingness in the gender. So I don't like to point the finger at nobody. If I say it for one side, then it's going to apply for the other as well. That whataboutism and that pointing fingers back and forth is a cancer to relationships, period. No matter what type of relationship it is, it's a cancer to it. Thank you, Cynthia. I love y'all coming in and giving me just giving me the feedback and giving me more stuff to talk about. Yeah, these conversations are necessary. I try to think of things that, we think about a lot and we see a lot, but they don't really get talked about a lot. Those are the topics that I like to try to come up with, the things that most people think about, but they don't say out loud. Kind of like Bernie Mac. And rest in peace to Bernie Mac, man. I love Bernie Mac. I love what he stood for. I love the old school values that he stood on, because people would see Bernie Mac's parenting style as hard and harsh. But you have to understand the dynamic that he was trying to portray to us. Because, all right, if you he basically was in a step parent role. He took on the responsibility of his sister's children, but he's the father figure in their life because their father was non-existent. And so he took on that role, and all of the things that I just addressed, that we just talked about, all of those things, Bernie Mac brought to light on our TV screens every day. And I swear it was so many stepdads who loved the Bernie Mac show for the simple fact that we understood exactly where Bernie was coming from. Everything that he addressed in his shows, we've been there. I'm bringing now, especially if you're moving the lady and her children into your house, bro. I loved it. Bernie Mac was a treasure trove of wisdom for me. He was somebody who kept my feelings at bay whenever I went through a situation when I first came into my marriage as a stepdad. I looked to Bernie Mac. My dad passed, like I said, he passed when I was 17, so I couldn't get none of that wisdom from him. But Bernie was going through those situations every day through his show, and man, it helped. I miss OG so much. I miss OG so much. Steve, he has some good information. I still rock with Steve Harvey just on the strength of the information that he gives. He have done some coonish things, I can say, but he has to play the game to get his money, and that's just industry stuff. But the information that he brings sometimes is on point and is key. Same thing with DL Hughley. DL Hughley, I like to listen to him speak. Very, very intelligent brother, and he has some great insight on the world that we live in. He can be harsh, and he don't have no filter, but DL Hughley is going to say what needs to be said. And so really the whole Kings of Comedy minus Sid, because Sid don't really be out there saying nothing like that. But, those guys gave me insight on being a stepfather. And also I look back on things that I witnessed my father go through so that he go through it. You said you can't take Steve's arrogance. A lot of people say that. And when I look at it, arrogance in the position that he's in, he has to have a sense of arrogance to an extent. Because if he don't, all of the naysayers who are trying to get him to quit, who are trying to get him to slow down, who are trying to get him to not bring this positivity and this sense of direction in people's lives that he is doing, You know, if he start to cater to that and start believing that, then his self-esteem is going to drop. And how is he going to be able to speak with authority when he got low self-esteem and no confidence in himself and he's second guessing himself? You cannot be a leader if you don't have a certain level of arrogance and narcissism. And that is a proven point. Every single leader that we've ever had has always been a narcissist to an extent and has always had a level of confidence that was above that of others. And that's what made them stand out as somebody to be put in a leadership role. And so, you know, that's one of those double-edged swords. It's a double-edged sword. You're going to have a lot of confidence to be a leader, especially a leader of men. If men see any weakness and any doubt in you, they are not going to follow you. And so, yeah, you have to have a certain level of cockiness, arrogance, and confidence. Because I'm telling you now, going into war, I'm not going to follow the guy that said, I think we should, it'd probably be, y'all think we should go that way? I'm going with the man to say, look, this is what we're going to do. Mac, I need you over here on this point. I need you there. And I'm going to do this. And we're going to rally right here. I need that person with that confidence to be my leader. I'm not going into battle with somebody who's not confident in themselves. So being Steve is a double-edged sword. You got to have that arrogance and you have to have that level of confidence to claim yourself to be a leader in the Black community. And to lead Black men, you definitely have to have confidence. And so, yeah, I know it's hard. It's hard for some people, but you just have to take them with a grain of salt. 'Cause like I said, he do have some coonish qualities at times. And he have done some things that I definitely speak against. But for the most part, Steve has done great things for the Black community. He's put some people on the right track. He's given them some advice to change their life. And I can't do nothing but respect that. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of how he say it or what type of personality, I got to acknowledge that. So, you know, you said people are afraid to have serious conversations like this, and we need more conversation like this all the time. It really needed, and times we going through right now. Absolutely, absolutely. The times we, especially the times we going through now, kids need strength. Kids need confidence. Kids need consistency. This is what I always got back from most kids who I dealt with that were troubled and coming through the program that I was working at. Consistency. Nobody was ever consistent. Somebody would come in and they would start working with them, and anytime that kid got frustrated and started to push back on it like they always do, they'll give up on them just that easy. Man, these kids don't want to learn nothing. We give up so easy. We give up so easy on each other, on the children, and everything. All these OGs out here who saying you can't get through to these young cats in the streets, that's a damn lie. I get through to these kids all the time, and I don't be running up to them and, hey, what's up, young blood? You know, and trying to, no, I don't do that. Things happen by chance. When I'm out and about, I come across people or people come across me. God placed me in a situation to where me and this person got to be together for an extended period of time. So we don't have any other choice but to conversate with each other. And through those conversations, I begin to build rapport and I begin to break down walls with these kids because they see that I'm genuine. I ain't sitting here trying to blow no smoke up their ass because I don't have no invested interest in what they're doing. And so anything that I put forth to them is just out of love from a Black man to another Black man. They recognize real. We think these kids are dumb. We think we can get one over on them. We may have more wisdom and more experience, but when it comes to smarts and being observant and stuff like that, we don't give these kids enough credit. We really don't. They're paying attention. Whether we think they are or not, they're paying attention. I didn't think my kids was paying attention to all of the stuff that I used to be saying to them, and I thought that all of my preaching and all of my nagging and all of that stuff was just in vain. Until now, they're grown and they'll come back and, well, Daddy, you remember when you told me to be a leader and not a follower? I took that to heart. Well, I didn't think you was listening, but they were listening. And it's starting to manifest in the way that they carry themselves out here, and the way they move, and the way that they build in their lives. So these kids are listening. These kids are listening. When they young and you giving them all that pushback and they can't understand, of course they're going to be mad at you. Man, I couldn't stand my daddy for a long time. Matter of fact, all the way up until the time that he died, I didn't realize the importance of him being in my life because I took it for granted. He was always there, regardless. No matter what was going on, he was always there. And so it wasn't until after my dad died and I started going through things that I was really, really able to understand and appreciate what my father was in my life. My father was an absolute boss. My father was an absolute man. And he took on responsibilities that he did not have to. And he did it all the way up until the day that he died. And I never heard my dad complain about having to take care of children. I heard him always getting on us about discipline. I always heard him getting on us about cleaning up our room, having this done. He was molding us and he was keeping structure in the household. But I couldn't see it as that back then. And then when I got old enough to recognize that he wasn't here no more for me to thank him for it. So if you still got your parents in your life and you out here kicking against everything they say and you think that they trying to hold you back, this is for the youngins. You need to check yourself. You need to check yourself because you do not even know the half of the things that we sacrifice for you to be able to just have a good opportunity and to have a fair opportunity to start your life out not in a hole, because there's a lot of kids out here who start their life off in the hole, like kids that are born on drugs, like kids that are born with all of these different mutations and deficiencies. They're born in the hole and they have to climb up out of that hole to hit level ground first before they can even start to excel and to grow the right way. And so all of you kids who have all of this in your life and you're just not recognizing it, at some point, whenever it's not there for you anymore, you're really going to recognize it and you're going to miss it. What you say, you didn't grow up around your dad, but we good. Yeah, see, there's a lot of broken relationships between fathers and daughters. And that's um, one thing that I really pay attention to now, because when I first started dating, I say 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there, a majority of the girls that I dated did not have fathers, did not have a father in the household. Mom was working all the time, and most of the time when I was over there, it was during the time that her mama was at work. I was trying to smash something, and I would run rampant in the house, and I could tell the difference between a girl who had a relationship with a positive male figure and a girl who didn't have any respect or reverence for positive male figures. I could tell the difference. The way that they treated me was different. And had I not seen an example in my household of a healthy relationship, I wouldn't have been able to identify those girls who had a healthy understanding of manhood and stuff coming up and had healthy relationships with men. And I had to build back the rapport with my daughter because, like I said, she was younger when everything happened, and she just went by stories that she heard from, I'll say, other people. But when she got old enough to put two and two together and she started to get the truth of the matter, then she came to me and we had that conversation. And I'm thankful for it. I'm glad that she did come to me. That's something that my mom always said to me. She was like, because my mom up, I'd be so frustrated. I'm like, man, she this and that. She don't want to talk to me, and she think this and that, and people telling her this and that, and I was so frustrated. And my mom was like, baby, you just hold your peace. Just do what you know to do for your children and hold your peace, because at some point the truth is going to start coming out. And when it does, those people who lied to that child are going to have to explain themselves. And that child is going to come to you once they realize that they've been lied to. And then you just going to have to be prepared to have that conversation without any malice and without any of that venom that was aimed towards you. And that child's going to recognize the truth. And that's exactly what happened. My daughter, she went through all of that, and then she got to the point to where she came to me and she asked me what happened. And without disrespecting anybody or throwing anybody under the bus, I let her know 100% what happened. And that was that. You said you didn't grow up with your real father either, and we just went cool like that. And me and my stepdad, it wasn't cool either. Yeah, sometimes our parents can marry people that don't mesh well with us. Sometimes our parent can get with somebody who don't really have any interest in us. That's like I was stating earlier. Um, they show their true intentions when they come in, and all they want to deal with is that woman, because that's all that they're there for. Um, Unfortunately, that does happen. Same thing on the other side. There's some women who don't have any interest in being a mom to somebody else's kids. She just wants to reap the benefits of being with that man. So that goes both ways, and it's so hurtful to the children. The children are always the victim in everything. These grown-ups who are making these stupid decisions and who are hiding from the things, that the issues that they need to deal with. What can I say, man? What can I say? You say you remember when I remember when I was young and he came for my sixth grade graduation. I wanted to go visit him. He told me no. I was so hurt. See? And those are the things right there, because do we really know what situation they was facing back where they're from? It may have been a hostile environment that he was living in. Maybe just a bad situation to put you in. You know, um, when I moved to Texas, it took about 3 years before I really got established to where I was able to bring my kids out for a visit. So for those 2 or 3 years, because I'm from North Carolina and I moved to Texas, so for about 2 or 3 years, it was just phone calls and FaceTime or whatever, writing letters whenever I was overseas. But there was still some resentment that they had for that decision that I made to leave North Carolina and come to Texas. Um, they were hurt, but I had to explain to them, a couple years of this for a greater return in the long run, because now I did my service, I'm retired, and I have all the time in the world to spend with my kids and my grandchildren now. So sometimes we will make a sacrifice. There go that word again. We will make sacrifices, and our kids won't understand why, and all they know is that they just want you to be there, and you're not. And so, later on, I just say that people have to have these talks so that their kids know what happened and what didn't happen. But avoiding these conversations is not going to make it go away. It's not going to make the animosity or the resentment or the bitterness that that child harbors towards you go away. And that's where we make the mistake all the time of avoiding, because we don't want to be held accountable for stuff that we did. And a lot of us be, oh, it was so long ago. If it was so long ago, why are you still running from it? Why are you still avoiding it? You know, so yeah, man, man, y'all got me on here for an hour. I ain't never done an hour. That's what, see, this is why I appreciate y'all so much, man. And I often talk about this, is that, you know, people like to boast about how many subs they got. Man, I got all these subscribers. I got all these subs. You got 250,000 subs, but you only get maybe a 500 likes or 1,000 likes, and you dang sure don't get no conversation like this. You know, when you got 250,000 subs, but you only got 6 comments, that says something about your conversation and your content. And so I appreciate quality subscribers who gonna come in, who gonna interact with me, who gonna feed me some knowledge, who gonna give me some feedback or pushback on something I say that they feel is wrong, so I can grow and be a better. This is what it's about. I don't give a fuck about no numbers. I swear on everything. I don't know what I can do or say to prove to everybody that I don't give a fuck about no subs. I don't give a fuck about none of them numbers. King David got in trouble with Yahweh because he started concerning himself with the numbers. He want to go do a census of all the people, because now he's starting to put his trust and his faith in the numbers instead of in the one who created and put him in the position that he's in. And that's just my mindset on this whole thing. I promise you on everything. I don't give a damn about no numbers. I don't give a damn about none of that. The message is the most important thing. The message is always going to be number one. So if people feel like, because I see some people who allow the subscribers and the people that they talk to dictate their content. They allow the quest for trying to get their numbers up to dictate their content. I'm not going to allow none of that to dictate my content. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about, when I want to talk about, how I want to talk about it. You know, and I'm not going to cater to any one group of people or any person just to keep a view or just to get the likes and shit up. That ain't how I rock. If you're not genuinely rocking with me, get the fuck on. It's just that simple. Because people that rock with me is not going to put no type of extra expectations on me. They know what I have to offer. They know what I'm bringing to the table, and they tune in and we have conversations like this. But everybody who looking for that extra shit, go over there to those people who do that extra shit, that like to clown for the people just so they can get those views, man. That ain't how I rock. Now, I can clown, believe me, I can clown. I can get out there with the best of them and just have fun, roasting and stuff like that. That's fine. We've been doing this for ages. Back in the day, they called it the dozens. So we've always talked junk to each other. That's always been a way of bonding. And we have these different terms of endearment that we use in banter and stuff like that. But, you know, my content is going to stay on a level of educating, on a level of revealing stuff to people who probably don't know something, and receiving the information that y'all are bringing to me. That's always going to be the vibe of my format. That's always going to be the vibe of my channel. So I appreciate everybody, man. This is a great conversation. I hope that a lot of people will take this into consideration. And as a step parent, you know, really sit down and, you know, weigh out your options, weigh the pros and the cons before you make that decision to be a step parent, because it's a very thankless job. You're going to be an unsung hero. You're not going to get the pats on the back and none of that stuff like that. So you have to be okay with that, because you see the bigger picture. It's bigger than you. It's not about you. It's all about the kids. Yo, Hurricane Kilo, thank you for coming in. Cynthia, thank you for coming in. Kevin, thank you for coming in. Who else we had up in here? Anybody else who tuned in who just didn't say anything? You know what? I appreciate each and every one of you. I love each and every one of you. Tune in next time. I'm gonna start putting my face out here more. I ain't no ugly dude, so I just had that avatar up for whatever reasons. But yeah, so I think I'm trying to go. I'm just working on this editing stuff and editing videos and putting music in the background and just little extra stuff. So yeah, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you so much. So this is D Mac, man. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.